What is up, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? LSU Odyssey live is live. Let me know in the comments if you can hear us. Um, we uh we don't have too much time, but we've gotten a lot of writing done. We've put out a few really in-depth articles the last few days, the last few hours on the site, especially one about Whit Weeks that we just posted. Definitely check that out. We just talked to David Weeks, and he said he really enjoyed reading that last article. That is what it's all about, is getting some type of message across from the people who know these people the best can go, wow, okay, you actually captured it. You actually got there. You actually told the story that I know well, as their father or their mom, their brother, or as the player themselves, and for them to sign on with it, I mean, it's not why you do it, but it's a great benefit, why you do it is to have relationships with people like that who just the Weeks family have made a big impact to LSU football, and we will get into that as well because you can't get away from talking about them when you're talking about LSU's 2025 opportunities, chances for a championship here. And that's the word. That's the word I really wanted to reference today when we were talking about this is championships, because you heard Brian Kelly mention championships. We're gonna go win a championship. We're not go win a championship. We're competing for a championship. The goal is to get a championship. You heard every single LSU player, every single LSU representative, and then Brian Kelly, all uttering about championships, and that's something I love to hear. I'm not, you know, hey, we're going to go get second place. Hey, we're going to go get another 9-10 win season and go to another Texas Bowl. Like, that's unacceptable after the investment LSU have had, near $15 million invested into this team. That's unacceptable, especially $100 million invested in this head coach. Untold amounts of money. We could probably go and do the math, but a lot of money invested in the staff as well. This is a team that has to really deliver here in 2025 and has every opportunity to deliver that we've gone over. It's a weaker SEC landscape. I don't care. We're going to get into the all SEC picks and how Garrett Nussmeier was totally snubbed for Lenore Sellers, which is just ridiculous. But Garrett Nussmeier is by far and away the best quarterback in the SEC, obviously. And this roster is unimpeachable. There's really no excuse for that not to be on the docket, winning a championship. However, Brian Kelly has now said it. He is now on the clock. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about what this season is about. It is a championship or bust season for the 2025 LSU Tigers. Not just going and hey, we got into the playoff and then we quickly lose and get our asses kicked by some team that, out physicals us up front, devours us, causes a few injuries, something like that. That's unacceptable. If LSU get into a postseason, they need to be going on a run. You've got a quarterback, you've got those weapons all over the offense. You'll figure it out on the O-line. You can get this thing going even with a piecemeal O-line. It will still be a big indicator of LSU's success, is how well that O-line can improvise and just kind of fake it until they can make it, but mostly this is a season where LSU don't have much in their way when I look at it, except for themselves from winning a national championship. And that's the same old things that have been haunting LSU for a while here. Can you stop a running quarterback on defense? And you're going to have to face a few. Marcel Reed, and he's got a few weapons on offense as well. A few weapons that LSU were going after. His name is escaping me right now. That receiver that signed for them, Malik Hampton or something like that. His name is bothering me right now. But LSU had him as a target in the transfer portal at one point, but he went to. Oh my God, who the hell are we talking about? Oh, he went to. My mind is completely going blank now. Oh, Texas A&M. Texas A&M. There we go. So Texas A&M actually have some type of outside weapon now to go with Marcel Reed and the running game, which is always going to be a question mark with LSU. But you've invested heavily in the transfer portal to address that very terrible issue of stopping a running quarterback, stopping the run with your front seven. LSU have not been able to do it the last few years. Even in 2019, we allowed a 300-yard rushing game to Ole Miss. Let's not forget that, So, even in a 2019 season where you won a national championship, and you can always say, the offense, put the defense out there repeatedly with all the fast scoring drives. So the defense got tired. They got injured. It was only until late in the season that they kind of got it all together. That was still a top 30 defense. Okay. Full of, first round picks all over the place on that defense. Okay. Top 5 picks on that defense. So let's not be mistaken. LSU didn't have the dogs that 2019 defense clearly had, or the defenses before that clearly had. LSU did not have the collective dogs. You had Whit Weeks. You had, even West Weeks. You had Jay Ward for a few seasons. You had B.J. Ojolari for a few seasons. Jaquelin Roy. Mekhi Wingo was an All-American and was incredible. You had pieces here and there. But you didn't have a collective picture defensively. Now, can you take that next step defensively? Or is it going to be another shit show where you cannot stop rushing quarterbacks, where you cannot stop dual threat offenses led by dual threat quarterbacks? Another one is these big games, these big moments with Brian Kelly. The question, is he a big game coach? We've won some big games at LSU under Brian Kelly. There's been some clutch moments. There's been some big spotlight, deer in the headlights moments where you've got to produce and what's going to happen. And his teams have been able to pull it out. But that's not always going to happen. That's not always going to be just right there no matter what as an option. That your players are going to make the play every time. Sometimes you're going to have to coach your players to victory. Is Brian Kelly capable of that? Is he capable of winning a few games as a coach this year, making those adjustments? So defensively, you've upgraded for sure all over the place in the personnel. You do have dogs, but we haven't seen this team play together. And that's the one thing that might be very tragic about this team if this season falls short and is a disappointing campaign. If it is, it will be very disappointing because you won't see the same combination of guys ever again. This is a one-shot deal for, a team that has Nussmeier, Bauer Sharp, Whit Weeks, West Weeks, Jack Pyburn, AJ Halsey, Mansour Delane, Berrien Brown, all on the same squad, all on the same team at the same time. Jacobian Guillory, Harold Perkins, the names go on and on and on. And this is a one-shot deal. Yeah, there's a lot of young depth on this team that are going to be around for the future for LSU for the next 2, potentially 3 years. There are some young kind of veterans, like a guy like Ashton Stamps or a Toviano, or guys who've been there for 2 or 3 years, but don't really have a ton of experience to show for it, or if they do have a ton of experience, not a lot of impressive um, playing to really take their name over the top of, a Tamarcus Cooley, an AJ Halsey, a Deshaun Spears in that race at safety. But you've got such improved depth all over that defense. Now the offensive line is the biggest worry of this team, really. Can you run the football? Stopping the run on defense, huge. But now can you actually run the football, control the games, end games, work the clock, control the clock, buy your defense some time? Can you do that defensively? Can you do that offensively to help your defense out, or like constantly putting your defense out there in terrible situations by just careless possessions, careless play calling? And that's another thing too. We saw some really poor play calling at moments last year, and then we saw some really unbelievable play calling from Joe Sloan that was completely bungled by the players, where it was like, ooh, that was a killer cutthroat call by Joe Sloan there. Like, this guy can be a surgical scientist play caller, but there was just bad execution there, and we just don't have the personnel. And oh man, if we did, ooh, you saw some wrinkles of what could be possible. You saw some flashes of what really what this team really could be. And I think the more and more that they want to talk about it, they want to bring it on to themselves, onto their own shoulders, championship or bust. I agree. I'm right there. This team really has only 2 options: win a championship or don't show up. That's it. As you can see, LSU are just loaded. You look at those times, it's ridiculous. The speed, there's the height, a Trades Green type matchup. You got Caden Durham, who had 1,000 total yards as a freshman, can do it through the air, on the ground. There is no excuse for this team. I'm not going to say to win it. You have to win a championship no matter what. Like, I understand you can lose games in college football. You can lose games in any sport, team sports, where it's just kind of like, 2 great teams kind of slugging it out, and you just happen to lose. Tom Brady lost, 3 Super Bowls? So, like, this stuff happens even to the GOATs. Not to Michael Jordan, but still, this happens to most of them, right? Win some, lose some type of thing. But this is a team that cannot afford to lose like a week 1 game. Another 6 straight starting the season with that type of negativity, the 4th under Kelly. I mean, there's just obvious. There is obvious touchstones, obvious like benchmarks that we will know a lot about this team when these things are hit. Like, we'll know a lot about this team after Clemson. We're not gonna know a lot about this team after fall camp. Even I'm just gonna tell you that right now. We're not even gonna know a lot about this team during fall camp. We're gonna get a lot of great footage. We're gonna get a lot of great plays. We're gonna see a lot of great competition. Hopefully, iron sharpening iron. Players getting better, making each other better. But like, we're not gonna know what this team really is until they play against Clemson. You have nearly 20 transfers, and a lot of those guys are going to start or play significant snaps for you. And that's either going to be a great thing or a disastrous thing. Like, this is only going to go 2 ways. And they've talked about it. They've said the word. They've said the word. Championships, championships, championships. And it would be an absolute damn shame if a guy like Garrett Nussmeier, so loyal to the program, such a rare thing to see such loyalty from especially a quarterback in this day and age of college football, especially someone who is so gifted as him, had so many connections across the world of college football. Coach's son, everyone knew about how good he was. And he was able to say, no, I'm staying at LSU. Like, that's a kid who cannot leave LSU without getting a championship ring on his finger. A dude like Whit Weeks. I mean, this is a dude who cannot leave LSU without a championship ring on his finger. And doing it in the year where all 3 Weeks brothers, the only year all 3 Weeks brothers will get to play college football with each other, that has to happen. Has to happen. When you have this type of receiving core, I mean, the talent, it's bottomless, endless. It is just one after another, after another. Losing Chris Hilton Jr., if we have another injury to him, it's not going to hurt us as much as it did last year, where you had a lot invested in him being that downfield threat. You lost him at the worst time in fall camp, and it cost you big time last year. Cost LSU bad, because so did the play calling too, because we could have had other guys running those type of routes, but Chris Hilton Jr.'s speed, his route running ability, all of that, the just sheer threat of the guy really stretched defenses, and without having that, they were all right up in our grill. So now you have kind of a multitude of profiles, from Tradez Green to a Barian Brown to a Xavier Thomas to a Destin Hill to Aaron Anderson, who led the team in receiving last year and really doesn't get as much love as he deserves. This is an offense that really should be a juggernaut offense, and this defense should be a top 40, top 50 defense at least, when you're looking at the talent that's been collected. But we've seen talent collected at LSU before. We've seen some of these things align before, but not completely. And there's been some real shocking results with some teams before in LSU history. And I think this could be, if things don't turn out the way they should here, I think it just might be like one of the most shocking like disappointments in LSU history. When you're talking about this team should at least come close to winning a championship, compete for one, get to the Final Four, something like that. Lose a heartbreaker in the quarterfinals, even like, and have a Heisman year with Nussmeier. Well, just there's got to be some type of deliverance this season for this LSU team, or you really got to wonder when is it going to happen for Brian Kelly at LSU, and how long is Scott Woodward prepared to go the distance with this project? I'm fine with Coach Kelly coaching LSU, no problem. I'm not saying get him out. I'm just saying, entering year 4, the way coaches get fired and hired nowadays, or leave teams nowadays, it's getting to that point where what does the future look like, as well as anything. So there's a lot of questions, and a lot of questions that are going to still be there after this season. Anyway, they've used the C word. They've used the C word. Championships, championships, championships. So putting that target on your back, winning a championship, I guess they've made it a championship or bust season. We'll be talking a lot more about this later. Take it easy, everybody.